So Microsoft announced a new portal. A portal sounds like such an old word. So is it, can you have a new portal? A new way of having employee experiences. It's called Viva. And, I said my personal connection to this, I did actually used to work at Microsoft and on SharePoint, but it has some components of SharePoint. But I don't know if obviously Microsoft must have been working on this for a while, but it does seem a little bit COVID related in that it came out to, as we're all working at home. And it's this, it's like supposed to be your digital front door, I guess, to your employer and your productivity. So what are you working on? What's going on in your organization? But what I thought was interesting is that if you look at some of the articles, there's a tiny snippet of wellness, employee wellness as part of this. So it's not just, hey, what's the news going on in my company, or what documents was I working on, or who do I need to collaborate? There's a little bit of like check-in of like, how are you feeling today? And I thought it was interesting because, there's a whole industry around employee wellness and, companies like Limeade. And, that Microsoft's trying to put a toe in the water here. But also, like, there was some backlash around, it's tracking your productivity and telling your employer potentially when you're working and when you're not working. So that's a question of that's definitely something that does not help with wellness. But I was also thinking about it from a couple standpoints. The portal or the internal intranet as a wellness activity, which is kind of interesting. I was also thinking about the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers who are really, talking about burnout, and then they're given these like wellness modules to do. And they're like, this is not, that's not the problem. So solve the core problem, which is, not enough resources and all of these things. So that's another component of it. And then just how fine the line is when technology starts to try and tell you how you're feeling. And I go back to this, I did a talk at HIMSS one year on how to deliver empathy through technology. And I fully believe that it works, that you can. And one of the examples I gave was when I first got my first iPhone. I was looking at it and it said, you have a busy day tomorrow. Your first meeting is at 8. And I was like, yeah, I do have a busy day. Thank you for noticing, iPhone. And it felt, like, okay, my phone's looking out for me. Let's compare this to something that Microsoft did, which is, Outlook gives you your productivity stats, and they do it in arrears. So they have been, monitoring you. So in January, they sent me a thing that said, you have been working outside of business hours every day for the last month, except for 2. One of those days was a Sunday and the other day was Christmas. Well, I was selling my company. You don't think I know that I was working a lot? I'm like,
now you want to get in an argument with it and say, do you not understand what I'm going through?
So those are some of the things that this brought to mind. And I thought about like rather than telling you what happened, maybe come up with something that can help you. Like, hey, I automatically put a block on your calendar because you've got these 2 meetings and I know you're going to need a space between them to think, because one of them's with your vice president. So those are all it's a little bit squishy of thoughts, but those are all the things that came up. And I was particularly like, do you want your portal every day to ask, like, are you happy today? Like, I don't know.